Hi there, everyone! So a few months ago, I was approached by a good friend, Chazington, to work on a little project he was cooking up. This being Nightshift, an original FNAF song and music video directed by him. There were a ton of people who helped work on this, and I'll leave all of their names in the description, and I'm sure I'll mention a handful of them in the video. So go check them out. Yeah. I wanted to give a little behind the scenes on what I contributed to this project, because I like talking about art. Sorry. So I mainly did all of the 3D animation and such on Glitchtrap's verse that was sung by the lovely Lewis Dawkins Daco. It was so cool getting to work on a project like this that had just so many talented folks involved, and just to be the visuals for the vocals, it's cool. Chaz had initially given me a few things to work with, this being the instrumental by Yuki Gloom, who also did the vocals during the chorus. This instrumental was accompanied by Fight Marker, who wrote most of the lyrics with Chaz's assistance. He was singing over the currently work-in-progress instrumental. Chaz also gave me a rough storyboard to work with. The audio I received is what is called temp vocals, that are used as reference in larger projects like this when not all the audio work can be done in time for the visual artists to start on their parts. As far as I know, the full mix wasn't even completed until like a week or two before the video dropped, so it's easy to see why something like this was necessary. So while what you heard in the video was this,
let's say you're like an employee with a roughed up face,
I was animating to this.
Let's say like an employee with a fucked up face.
Wow, what Glitchtrap, you can't say that! Yes, originally the lyric here was fucked up face, and that's what I was listening to for like 3 hours while I animated this shot. However, Daco had requested the lyric be changed, which is fair enough. I'm sure swearing on like what is his equivalence to a public appearance for this is a little bit different than just doing it offhand in a stream.
That goddamn spawn!
They had ultimately settled on roughed up face, which thankfully still fits the visuals well and doesn't mess with the flow or anything. Here's Chaz's storyboard, by the way, if you're curious, with the temp vocal track playing over top of it.
Let's say like an employee with a fucked up face, I'm one to cut to the chase. I'm gonna get ya, become my pawn like Vanessa. I'll break it from code, actors will clone. I'm the Glitchtrap, and I might make you my own. Man, I really wish that I could say more, but the writer of the song checked out at Game 4. The main attraction, William Afton.
I really like the way he drew Glitchtrap here. It's a true display of art. If you'd like to listen to the full temp vocal track for the song, Fight Marker uploaded it on his second channel. Once I had this, it was time to plan how everything was going to be blocked out and pick my assets. I decided to go with the Dead by Daylight model for Glitchtrap. Not only was there a very good rig available for this model, I just kind of prefer the way this one looks over his Help Wanted model, but it's my personal choice, so I'm allowed to make it, so This big purple void background was very inspired by Darkest Desire and Darkest Desire 2. Obviously, a lot of inspiration was taken from those two music videos since Daco voices Glitchtrap here. I used shape keys to stretch out Glitchtrap's mask here, and I really like some of the still frames that can be found when pausing it. Doing this little transition with a knife slash was very fun. In the board, he just holds it up, but I thought doing this would look really cool, and I'm just happy with how this turned out. Now, this shot was a bit of a pain, because the atrium isn't very well optimized in Security Breach to begin with, and the only port of this map seemed to be made more for renders than full animations. I actually had to render Glitchtrap and Vanny separately from the atrium itself and compose them together in my editing software, because every time I tried to render it, it just completely crashed Blender. I really liked the Vanny model I chose for this. I tried to stick to mostly official assets where I could unless it was specifically a reference to something, but I opted to go for this remodel of Vanny by @LadIsEpic, meant to look closer to the Funko statue. I saw some people really liking her, so I was happy to shed some light on this more obscure model. This shot was very closely inspired by Darkest Desire 2, and Chaz had to send me green screen footage of himself to use here. I had to go with a specific take to be able to line up with Glitchtrap's movements, even if he more so looks unamused than scared here. We both agreed it was kind of funnier if he just looked more confused anyway, so we just kept it in. He's actually not in here through the power of like green screening in Adobe Premiere or something. He's actually completely composed in the shot in 2D, and it actually makes him look a lot more natural to the lighting since he can actually like react to the stuff in the area. This specific part where Glitchtrap gets all big was choreographed to match with this shot from the Amiibo song by Random Encounters. It's not one-to-one, as it still had to sync with the song, but I think it was pretty close. This is such a silly specific nod that Chaz wanted in here, and I'm so happy I made it in, because it just looks really funny. I mentioned this on Twitter, and Random Encounters themselves even saw it, so that was cool. For this shot, Chaz actually wasn't sure what he wanted in here, though he did say how he wanted it to fade into the FNAF 4 background. So I decided to go with a general FNAF 4 lore theming, seeing as how I added this little box shut part in here in the last shot. There's a lot of little stuff here in the background, like the Fredbear plush, the clocks from FNAF World, specifically set to 8:07 and 8:03, the flowers, the IV drip, the pill bottle, the ball pit balls that are seen inside Dreamgeist from Furious Rage. Dreamgeist is a pretty big inspiration for what to put back here to begin with. There's also the tiny Toy Chica missing its beak. I actually used the 1/6 NIS model of Toy Chica for this as opposed to the official one as a fun little nod. After this really cool transition I was happy with, this last shot didn't actually have anything in particular, but I really liked how the lighting turned out here. I did use the Dead by Daylight Matthew Lillard head for when he pulls off the mask. I find it funny how, like, it's a realistic William that immediately cuts to 2D purple guy head. I wasn't sure if Chaz wanted me to do a realistic William or something like this, because I thought I remembered hearing he was doing the 2D Afton, or maybe this isn't completely intentional. Maybe I should just ask him. Actually, let me ask him real quick.
Okay, update, he didn't, but it's okay because it looks good.
This part is so fun, by the way. The animation was done by Lou Creerdon, and it looks amazing. I love how squishy his head is in some good frames. He goes like, "Ugh." Now, I did a lot of additional assistance on this video, so I'll talk about that too. I did some additional 3D animation for this shot with the puppet and the animation with M2. Chaz actually did a lot of this other stuff himself in SFM, and it actually looks pretty good for someone who had literally never used the software prior to this. I think it did its job as being background filler where it needed to be. Chaz originally wanted to do the puppet shot himself before I stepped in and told him I'd do it if he wanted. I actually only realized after that the gift boxes kind of clip into Foxy's head, but it's okay, it's hard to notice unless you stare at it. At least it's accurate to the actual FNAF trailers. All the M2 animation was really fun to do. He's such a neat character to manipulate and animate. I'm particularly happy with the shot of him on the actual set. His movements are so smooth here. I had also composed the VHS filter that was used in all these shots, and I did this shot that had Fredbear standing in the woods. Chaz's inspiration for this shot was from Night 5, the FNAF fan film by xBlue, and it's a nice nod. Also, obviously this whole sequence is inspired by the dream sequences in the FNAF films, but shut up, the xBlue movie's funnier.
Evening, Michael.
I think we were on VC when he asked me to do this, and MR Springs suggested I use the Nixon Fredbear model, and it was just too funny to not keep in. He's just standing there, menacingly. Admittedly, he looked a little bit more blended into the background before I slapped the VHS filter over it, and he looks a little too high contrast in the final cut, but whatever, you can, whatever. Lastly, I did all the typography for this ending bit. Chaz wanted this to be inspired by other FNAF lyric videos. We even went as far as to find the original Angry Birds looking font that was used in like Smike's lyric videos and Break My Mind. The thumbnail originally didn't have the song text on it either, but I told Chaz it should be added like those old Smike thumbnails down to the music notes and everything. So I added it, and I think it was a beautiful creative decision. It's like a little chef kiss, a little cherry on top. This background I also came up with myself. Chaz said he had just like FNAF gameplay in mind being back there, but I decided to reference this funny rotating hallway in the Go Back music video by 3 Lane Studios. It's not nearly as funny looking as this looks, but I basically just made a hallway model with help wanted textures and added a rig to it to bend into a circle. It looks pretty good, to be honest. I'm really happy with how this part turned out. It looks great. I actually tried to crop it to 4:3 with some bleed over to fit on Chaz's little CRT TV, but I think it ended up squishing the 16:9 image into 4:3 anyway. Oops. And I didn't expect him to cut to it in the final edit, but it still looks fine anyways. I think this whole thing turned out great, and the little hiccups add to the charm. So yeah, that was all I contributed to this huge project, and thank you to Chaz for letting me help. Legit, it was a dream come true to work with some of these people, and the new folks I wasn't familiar with did an amazing job as well. Check out Raby and Lou Creerdon, as their visual work for this video was amazingly done also. I love the whole thing so much, and I'm incredibly proud to have been allowed to work on it. I plan to drop more animation stuff on this channel where I can, so subscribe for more. See y'all next time!